Just getting set up here, so give me just a moment. All right, if you can hear me, let me know in chat, and we'll be getting started in just a moment. Okay. I have to pull up chat in a little bit because my YouTube app is updating. Anyway, welcome. If you missed last time, the Saturday stream, I am traveling currently, so this isn't my usual setup. If you're new here, usually it's in my little studio where I have all my equipment, but this week I'm using a mobile rig, and so this is my hotel room. What I wanted to do today is kind of talk, or actually start a new series called Guitar Chords You Should Know. So there's a lot of chords that we're all pretty familiar with, especially when it comes to R&B, where it's usually like the major sevens, minor sevens. Most of us know our open chords from when we first started playing guitar, but there are some chords out there that are a little bit lesser known, or maybe even the ones that you do know, you might not know there are some other ways that you can use those chords. So I'm kind of going to test the waters and see how you guys respond to this series. Just do a few different ones, focusing on a few different chord shapes that I think are important. And today's is going to be the minor 7 sharp 5 chord. So I came across this chord for the first time when I was learning how to play, what was it? I think it was the song Mean It by her. And that song, excuse me, that song threw me for a loop because when I was trying to figure it out by ear, there was just that one chord that I couldn't figure out. And lo and behold, that chord turned out to be a minor 7 sharp 5 chord. And that's why, because typically when I go through and I learn R&B songs, I'm always trying out the minor 7s and the major 7s that we're used to, as well as some of the dominant chords. And I was like, why does none of these chords sound right? And it's because I was using a chord shape that I wasn't familiar with at the time. This chord shape is not super common in R&B, but it does come up more often in gospel music. All right, so I have seen a lot of gospel guitarists using this chord, and I'm going to show you what it sounds like, and then I'll show you how we can kind of use it. So I'm going to play a C minor 7 sharp 5. It sounds like this. All right, let me know in chat if my guitar sound is coming through clear. That would be much appreciated. But you can hear it has like kind of an interesting sound to it. I don't know of any other chord that I typically come across that sounds quite like that. And so it's a really beautiful sound, and the way that we can kind of incorporate this sound into progressions is very simple, and it's all based off of the number system. So first and foremost, let me just show you what I'm playing, right? So I only have one camera today, so forgive me for not having the close-up. But what I'm playing, I'm basically barring the 3rd fret from the A string down, so there's no E string involved. That one's getting muted by my fingertip, okay? Barring the 3rd fret all the way down from the A string, I have my middle finger on the B string, fret 4, and I have my my pinky finger on the D string, fret 6. And I'm just playing the inside 4 strings. Alright, although you could play that high E, it would still sound fine. Alright, sounds nice. But I'm specifically stopping short of that high E because of the progression I'm going to show you in just a little bit. And it kind of helps to keep things consistent with that progression, so you're not hitting the high E string when you're not supposed to. Alright, so once again, just to review, you're barring the 3rd fret from the A string down. You're putting your pinky on the 6th fret of the D string, and you're putting your middle finger on the 4th fret of the B string. Okay? So that's our minor 7 sharp 5. And if you're already familiar with the typical minor 7 chord, right, if we're just playing a regular C minor 7, then the only difference is really we're just taking that note on the D string and we're pushing it back a fret, which is why I'm switching to the pinky instead of the ring finger. Okay, so if I put my pinky back where the other one was, that's just a regular C minor 7. And if I slide that pinky up to fret 6, minor 7, sharp 5. So you can kind of guess, you can kind of pick up on just from the naming. Only difference from the minor 7 and the minor 7 sharp 5 is that sharp 5. So really, if you're familiar with chord formulas and intervals, this note on the D string is typically the 5th that we're playing in that chord, where the chord may be 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. You would just be sharpening that 7, or basically pushing it up a half step. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry. Just suffice to say that it is very close to the minor 7 shape, and we're just making one note difference. All right, how do we actually use this chord? So if you're familiar with the number system, we have 7 chords in every major key, and minor key for that matter. But when we're talking about the major key, the 1st, 4th, and 5th chords are all major, all right? And the 2nd, 3rd, and 6th chord are all minor. And finally, we're left with our 7th chord, which is diminished. So it goes major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. And that's the order of the chord types as you go from the 1 chord, which is your root note, right? Whatever key you're in, that's going to be the first note that you use. And then as you go through each of the 7 notes of that major scale, so in the case of the key of C major, you're doing C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Those are all the notes of the C major scale. And then when you apply that to the key of C major, then you attach those chord types, or those chord qualities, what they're called. So you would say C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and B diminished would be your chords. Okay, so we got that out of the way. So if we are in the key of C, then where you can apply this minor 7 sharp 5 chord would be on the 6th chord and the 7th chord, all right? And that's kind of not typical. Typically the 6th chord would be a minor 7 chord if you wanted to play 7th chords for each of your chords. But the 7 chord is typically diminished, right? I just told you that. And so the minor 7 sharp 5 kind of fits in there as a way of going from the 6 to the 7 to the 1. That's where you have like a really good resolution. And so if we were going to be in the key of, let's do the key of E flat instead. Okay, so I'm playing an E flat major chord, just a typical bar chord. Barring fret 6, ring finger barring the D, G, and B strings on fret 8. Okay, so that's our E flat major chord, right? That's our 1 chord in the key of E flat major. So we have to back up to C. We can play our C minor 7 sharp 5. Okay, then we can take that same exact shape and move it all up a whole step, or 2 frets. So every part of that shape has to be moved up 2 frets. So now we're barring the 5th fret from the A string down. Our pinky finger is on the 8th fret of the D string. And our middle finger is on the B string, 6th fret. Okay? So now we're playing a D minor 7 sharp 5, which is our 7 chord in this case. Alright, so we played C minor 7 sharp 5, D minor 7 sharp 5, and now that will all resolve beautifully to the 1 chord, our E flat major. Alright, and once again, earlier I said we were when we're playing the C minor 7 sharp 5, we want to stop short of playing that bottom E string, which does sound fine for that chord. But if you were to move up to our 7 chord, that D minor 7 sharp 5, that note really doesn't fit. Right? It starts to sound a little bit dissonant would be the word. So that's why I like to make it a habit to just stop short of that high E string. It's a very common like gospel type of progression. C minor 7 sharp 5, D minor 7 sharp 5, E flat major. Okay? So you can use it in that context. So that would be a good spot for you to play the minor 7 sharp 5 when you're doing from 6 to 7 to the 1. It's a good way to walk up to your 1 chord. And with that being said, one cool thing about this sound, right? It doesn't sound like a minor chord, really. Like typically minor chords have more of a sad type of sound to them. I think of a regular vanilla minor chord. It has a sad tonality to it. Even the minor 7, a little bit. It's a little bit more major sounding, but for the most part, it has more of a sadder sound than a major chord, right? The minor 7 sharp 5, one cool thing about it, and the reason why it doesn't sound so minor, is because it's actually an inversion of a major 9 chord. So you may or may not know what a major 9 chord sounds like, but you could think of it like, we'll play a C major 9 over here. It's a very common, like, modern R&B, or I shouldn't say R&B, but modern neo-soul guitar type of chord. That's that major 9 sound. And a major 9 is a major chord, of course. Even though the major 9 sounds kind of jazzy, it still has a major tonality to it. And if you're familiar with what inversions are, it's kind of when you take the chord tones, or the notes that make up a chord, and you rearrange the order in which you play them, basically. So if I was going to play this major 9 chord here, that minor 7 sharp 5 is actually a C major 9 inversion. Just reordering the notes. And it's also a slight difference there. So with when it comes to chord extensions, you have the option of using many different chord tones. So let's say if you're playing a major 9 chord, for instance, you can use the 1, the 3, the 5, the 7, and the 9. Okay? You can use all of those notes, but most of the time on guitar we don't use all of those notes. We'll usually pick the ones that really determine what a chord is going to be, which is usually the 3rd and the 7. And then sometimes there's no 5th, sometimes there is a 5th but no 3rd. You can always like choose which notes to leave out, as long as you have a few of the important notes that really give that chord its particular sound. So a major 9 chord, while we have the option of using 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, we can choose to leave 1 or 2 of those notes out and still have the meat and potatoes of the chord. And so this minor 7 sharp 5 is a major 9 inversion, but it doesn't use the exact same notes as the major 9 shape that I'm playing. Okay, that was pretty complicated, but for the folks that want to just learn one more inversion, I'll leave you with, even though today's progression, or even though today's chord of the day, or chord you should know, is the minor 7 sharp 5, we do end up on that E flat major, right? And so we're going C minor 7 sharp 5, D minor 7 sharp 5, E flat major. And just like this minor 7 sharp 5 chord is an inversion of a major chord, you can use an inversion on that 1 chord as well. So instead of playing, barring the 6th fret and the D, G, and B strings on the 8th fret, excuse me, you can still keep the D, G, and B strings, but you can hold those down with your index finger on fret 8. You can put your ring finger, let me keep my guitar flat there. You can put your ring finger on fret 10 of the A string, and you can put your pinky on fret 11 of the B string. So now you're playing, right? It is still an E flat major chord. It just has a few different notes that we're choosing to play compared to the original. So you could do right? So you're playing the same exact progression in terms of the number system. You're doing 6, 7, 1 both those times. But instead of playing the same 1 chord, you can just swap it out for an inversion of that 1 chord. But yes, I'll leave you with just that for now. So that's our progression that we could use in C minor 7 sharp 5, D minor 7 sharp 5, E flat major, or the E flat major first inversion. All right, and there's plenty of other voicings, of course, you could use, but we'll just keep it simple with that. So definitely try out that minor 7 sharp 5 chord shape. Let me know if you find any other creative ways to use it, and if you actually like this series. So if you like today's video, make sure you leave a like, drop a comment. Feel free to leave any requests for future live stream topics that you want me to go over on the channel. I'll definitely take a look at it. Other than that, that is all for today's stream. So if you are new here, typically Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern is when I go live teaching things like this, where it'll be like a chord progression, licks, or a song. And then on Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern time is when I go over more general guitar topics, where you could talk about like music theory, we could talk about things that you want to consider when you're buying a guitar, talk about gear, all that kinds of stuff. That's all for the Saturday streams, where I try to keep Tuesday streams about more of the music. But in any case, that's all I have for you tonight. Hopefully that helped. And if you need anything else, drop a comment below. Also, if you like what we were kind of covering today, but you're not really sure where to start with what I was doing on the guitar, or you're just not familiar with those chord shapes, two things. One, I do have something called Tizo's R&B Chord Library, Volume 1, and it's just a collection of 35 different chord shapes that you can use to play some of the most common chords that I come across in my time playing R&B music. So if you're looking for somewhere that can just be like one resource where you can get 90% of the chords you need to know to play R&B, go ahead and check that out. I have the voicings, I have chord charts that are color-coded that show you which fingers to put down. I have example progressions that show you how to use those chords. And I also demonstrate how you can move those shapes around so you're not locked into any one key. If that sounds good to you, the link for that will be in the description below when this video gets posted to the channel. Also, if you are interested, I do teach private lessons via Zoom. If you want to get some information about that, go ahead and drop me an email at tizoguitar, just like the channel name, tizoguitar@gmail.com, and I just say, hey, I saw your video, I'm interested in lessons, and I will get back to you with some information as soon as possible. All right, other than that, I will see you guys back here on Saturday, hopefully. Enjoy the rest of your week, and take care.